Somewhere between science and superstition, there is another world. The world of darkness.
Look, your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
I'm telling you that thing upstairs isn't my daughter. Now, I want you to tell me that you know for a fact that there's nothing wrong with my daughter except in her mind. You tell me you know for a fact that an exorcism wouldn't do any good. You tell me that!
Nobody expected it. Nobody believed it. And nothing could stop it. The one hope. The only hope. The Exorcist. Rated R.
Mother, what's wrong with me?
The movie you've been waiting for. Without the wait.
Right. Adam.
So, we're talking about The Exorcist.
We're talking
Mr.
about
Walsh.
The Exorcist for tonight's topic.
Okay.
Since it's coming up to Halloween.
Since it's coming up to Halloween and...
We said we'd have a little special here.
So, is it the greatest horror film of all time?
Yeah, because people generally put it into context that it is the greatest horror film ever made.
Okay.
But for me, it's more than just a horror film.
Isn't it?
So without a doubt, it is almost, in my opinion, the most perfect film ever made.
It basically is the most perfect film ever made, because if you're talking about sound and vision,
Yeah.
it probably is the most innovative film ever made. You're talking about practical effects, you're talking about craftsmanship, you're talking about massive degrees of imagination and just ingenuity when it comes to actually creating a visceral experience in terms of sound design and audible horror as well as visual horror.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not even that. It's in amongst all the horror, there's moments of true, genuine humanity.
Yeah.
Okay? So it isn't about sticking your face in all of this sort of blasphemy and, unpleasantness and, terrifying the crap out of you. I know that we're probably in a growing minority now of people who are still scared by The Exorcist. But just going back to the idea that it isn't just, you're right about it, it isn't just a horror, it's a thriller.
Yeah.
It's a drama.
Yeah.
It's very, very funny in places. There's action. There's action, yeah. But it's very, very funny in places too. And it does seem to have that sort of maxim that Brian De Palma came up with, where he said that, look, if you're going to make a horror film, put some humour in there somewhere. Yeah. Because if not, they're going to start finding other things to laugh at that you didn't mean to make funny.
Yeah, exactly. You made an interesting point there at the beginning. You said about the sound and the way it was pure genius, the way they made that sound. You'll be more familiar with that, man. I think it was in Italian that they got in from a movie that you once saw.
El Topo.
An Italian Western, was it? Or?
Yeah, Jodorowsky. I can't remember.
I actually think that's his name,
Jodorowsky. What's his name? Nicholas Winding Refn dedicated Only God Forgives to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who did the sound, or did some of the sound effects on El Topo, did some of the sound effects for Friedkin.
Yeah, I think they got him in for a full day, and he came up with all these different...
The wallet.
Yeah, the wallet, for the neck, for the head turning.
For the neck turning and doing the straps tearing and the...
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean...
for a later, and what a perfect sound for the head to turn around. You couldn't make a better sound.
But do you remember when you saw that first, right? Or when you saw it the first couple of times maybe, right? Once you got over the initial massive shock and impact of the thing. Did you start to notice that the sounds were just like unearthly, like?
Yeah.
It was like this awful lawn of cattle and, Well,
I'll give you an interesting point, a little interesting thing. Now, maybe you know this because you are quite an expert when it comes to this film. At the end part, when Miller grabs her and he's turned into the demon himself and he's struggling with himself and he does the right thing by jumping out through the window.
Yeah.
That's the correct thing to do. But the sound effect of that was actually pigs.
That's right, the slaughterhouse.
The slaughterhouse. And that's, if you look into the religion, the Bible, that's a little thing that seemingly a priest or Jesus maybe took a demon out of someone and put it to pigs, and the pigs went off the cliff into the ocean.
That's an amazing observation. That's an amazing observation, and that didn't occur to me until you just said it there now.
Yeah,
that's a very clever observation.
I read that somewhere years ago.
That's brilliant.
Something to that. And it was just when I look back on it, I just turned it on here and I just look at a few parts of it.
Yeah.
And it hit me.
That's brilliant.
That came back to me. I said,
yeah. Jesus drove the demon into the herd or whatever it was, and sent them over the cliff. Over the cliff. Yeah, and that's brilliant.
And then you have that thing you see that Miller jumps out through the window. So it's basically him jumping out through the window is very same as the pigs going off the edge of the cliff.
But it has a double thing, because he performs the ultimate act of sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing is that he's the Exorcist.
Yeah.
I mean, initially the idea was the Exorcist is Merrin. It's Max von Sydow's character, and you know, he dies during the exorcism.
Exactly.
And it looked like all hope was lost.
Yeah.
And the girl would have died, and you know.
And hope was lost in that part. And when Miller was sitting, there was a great scene where Miller is sitting on the bottom of the stairs, and her mother is talking to him. And if you notice, if you look at that again, and again, as I say, I just looked at it there just to remind myself of things. There was, we go to the soundtrack soon, but there was silent. There was no music whatsoever in this scene. And the mother of Reagan says to him, "Is she going to die?" Yeah. And you know at that particular time, you even see it in Miller's face that there's no hope. Mm-hmm. And Miller looks up at her and says, "No, she's not going to die." No. And he gets up and he walks up the stairs, he goes into that bedroom, and then that's where he realises that Myrn has died.
Yeah. Come hell or high water, this is going to be
over here and now.
Yeah.
And Reagan is in the corner, creepy as fuck, and she just staring into space, sniggering at this death of this priest, Myrn. And that was enough to drive Miller over the edge. Yeah. But as you were saying about the no hope, it was like there is going to be hope now.
There is going to be
hope. I'm fucking sick of this, so I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
So, as I say, it's a film, to me, it's a film, like we said, horror, laughter, tension, scares, action, and an awful lot about faith and about the religion.
It's about the mystery of faith.
And redeeming ourselves.
Redemption, yeah, but it's about the mystery of faith. And sometimes I think the idea is that it's about the will to care.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying, there's a huge amount of humanity in the film.
There's a lot.
A massive amount in it. And, you know, it's sort of embodied in this man, Karras, who's lost his faith or thinks he's losing his faith.
Yeah.
And is trying to understand what it is, do you know?
Yeah.
What it is, and does it mean anything?
Because
does it mean anything?
He was also struggling with his relationship with his mother.
He was struggling an awful lot because he felt like a failure, clearly. But I think it came from, I think the character of Karras sort of grew out of Blatty's initial thing when he was younger. That he thought he was losing his faith too. From what I can gather, he thought he was losing his faith too. And he would have been raised and educated by the Jesuits. Mm-hmm. And I think he was terrified of there being absolutely nothing after death. I think that really frightened him. Mm-hmm. And when the Mount Rainier case was reported in the newspaper about the boy...
Yeah, in Georgetown.
Yeah, it was near Georgetown.
Or near Georgetown. Sorry, Georgetown was the film. It wasn't Georgetown in reality. It was
it wasn't far from it. But it wasn't
far from it.
From what I know. But I think it sort of inspired him to think, well, if there are demons, then surely there must be entities of goodness as well. Like, and if that's the case, well, then there's a lot of things that could be proved because of that. Yeah, you know. And I think it became embodied. That concept became embodied in Karras in the sense that it really did seem like he'd lost his faith, that he thought he'd lost his faith, that he was a psychiatrist as well.
Yeah.
So he was an apparent man of science, like. So all the scientific tests and everything else, they were tried first.
Yeah. Which were pretty shocking for 1973.
But it's amusing, isn't it, that she would have been a very wealthy woman. The character of Chris McNeil is a very, very wealthy woman. All the advantages.
Was she an actress?
She's an actress
character.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. In the book as well, there's a subplot in the book where she's doing this movie set in the university in Georgetown. Yeah. But she's gotten offered the script to direct her first movie, the character.
Okay.
And the idea was that she's about to do it, and then she has to pass on it when all hell breaks loose in her house and with her daughter.
Well, I think it's a great piece of story writing because, like, he didn't go for the normal Joe soap on the street that this happened to him. He went for an actress at the top of her game with plenty of wealth, fame, and just goes to show what can happen.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are.
It doesn't matter what level of life or society you're in.
But I think another aspect of that might have been Blatty lived next door to Shirley MacLaine, and he was very good friends with her. And I think probably he was writing what he knew as well, because he was around Hollywood people. Like,
I believe, Alan, you read the book.
I read the book
myself. I haven't. I will get to it.
It's just fantastic. It's just.
I believe, and you're actually you know your stuff about Blatty. I believe it took him a year to write.
I believe it took him a year to write it, and
is it a short book? Is it 225 pages or something?
I think it might be something like that, but it's the kind of thing you would absolutely burst through because it does keep you riveted.
And is it would it be like the film itself, or was
very much so?
Very much so.
There's almost nothing that wasn't put in the movie. I tell you what, there is. There's a plot in the book. There's a subplot in the book. Carl, the butler,
the butler,
whatever he is, house man or whatever.
He sees him in the attic that time when the flame goes out.
Yeah, him and the wife. Her name is Willie for some reason. I don't fucking know what that's short for. I suppose, But there's a whole thing where he has a daughter.
Okay.
They have a daughter, and she's a junkie and a prostitute.
Oh, all right.
And I think the wife thinks that she's dead. He told her she was dead.
Right.
But what happens is he's going to see her in the city all the time, in this slum, this scummy slum flop house place. And he's giving her money all the time, and she's a prostitute, and she's living with either the pimp or the guy who's pimping her out or whatever, and she's massively resentful towards him. She seems to blame him for this, and when Dennings dies, the person who Kinderman, the detective, is most suspicious of is Carl.
Okay.
And Carl is not letting on about anything to do with the daughter. And he's not actually saying where he's going because he doesn't want the wife to find out that she's still alive and he's giving her money. And eventually, when Kinderman is getting ready to arrest him on suspicion of murder of Bert Dennings, he finds out where he's been going.
Right.
And he tells Kinderman everything. And Kinderman says, okay, I won't say anything. But at some point, there's two things that happen as an upshot of this thing with the daughter.
Okay.
When Carl spends an awful lot of time in the room with Reagan, changing the straps, changing the bedding, the dirty bedding and all this stuff, and the demon is torturing him.
Right.
And the demon is speaking in the daughter's voice and the pimp's voice. And the demon sort of emits this smell of sauerkraut. Because that's something they would have eaten, you know. Sort of like a coleslaw kind of thing. And, it's deeply, deeply sinister, as you can imagine. And it's having a terrible psychological effect on the Carl character as well. But one of the things, and again, it goes back to decency, it goes back to humanity, it goes back to goodness. Carl is doing this. But at some point in the book, it's towards the end, Kinderman shows up at the slum and he arrests the daughter and gets her sent to a rehab facility.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
And none of that was touched?
None of that. I don't think it would have served the
film.
But
it wouldn't have served the film, because the film wasn't about that.
No.
So it would have been just like a different film in a film.
Oh, that's it.
So,
but we'll talk about the script actually. Because it's an interesting thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting because there was parts in it that was kept out there.
Yeah.
And I think it was Blatty that wanted certain parts put back into the film.
He's a writer.
So he's a writer. But I don't think Friedkin wanted it.
Friedkin didn't want that. You see, Blatty was a strange sort of hybrid of two things there that were almost contradictory. He was a writer, but a producer.
Right.
And a producer would actually be keeping the director in check to some extent, because he's answering to the studio.
Yeah.
Right, but Friedkin, a massive personality.
Oh, yeah.
And a very, 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 very forceful guy, But, so you've got that, but you've also got the writer is the producer.
Yeah.
And the writer wants all the stuff.
Yeah, of course,
it,
because he's collecting his own material. And
this is it, but let's talk about the script, because we both know this, and we'll say it for the sake of this recording, that when Blatty first turned in his script, when Blatty first turned in his script, he turned in a bizarre thing that Friedkin said to him.
That's right.
I wouldn't have even had your worst enemy do that to your work.
Yeah.
All this thing of, it was like a courtroom or something.
Yeah.
It was a court, and it was flashbacks.
He
took out all the sort of visceral stuff.
Friedkin actually got the script, and he actually marked out exactly what he was wanting to film.
He took the book.
He just took the whole thing.
He did what Coppola did with The Godfather. He took the book and
marked it all.
Basically adapted the book. You see, because one thing that people that isn't sort of massively known about Friedkin is a master script editor. He's a brilliant script editor. This man really knows what he's doing. What should be shot, what belongs in there, what works, what doesn't work.
Friedkin is a genius.
He is a genius. The man was just
a genius, and he's very much underrated in my opinion. When you talk about the great directors of film, it's very seldom you hear William Friedkin's name being mentioned.
You see, I think with Friedkin was a sort of a fairly ungovernable sort of guy in Hollywood in the 70s, and would have made a fair few enemies.
Oh, big time. He has such a tough character.
Yeah.
He didn't take any shit.
Well, he said what was on his mind basically all the time.
And people that does that, they're not very much well liked. So, because in Hollywood, it's a lot of fucking lick my arse and I lick your arse. A lot of that goes on.
Well, that would have been fine if everything he did made money.
Yeah.
But when Sorcerer was a failure, and it was the most expensive film that he ever did.
It took 2 years to make.
That finished him.
Yeah.
That finished him as a sort of a creative force.
Yeah.
In terms of being able, or let's say it finished his autonomy.
But you see, the thing is that when you have a director that was so successful with one of the greatest crime films made in Gene Hackman's Popeye.
Yeah, in The French Connection.
In the 70s. And then you go on and you make possibly the greatest film ever made, The Exorcist.
And made a massive amount of money.
And made massive money.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the studio was going to give him the rights that he wanted freedom of what his next project, which was The Sorcerer.
Yeah.
And through you gave me one of the Blu-ray of Sorcerer, because I knew of it, but I never watched it. And I watched it recently. And anyone that's listening to this audio, get The Sorcerer. Yeah, it's an absolute masterpiece.
Sorcerer. It's not a horror.
It's just...
That might have been a problematic thing as well. Do you know that he followed up this box office hit with that was a horror movie with a film called The Sorcerer, called Sorcerer, that is not a horror movie.
No, and it's not a fantasy film either.
It's not a fantasy movie
Sorcerer, you know what I mean?
No, not at all. And Friedkin had a funny career after that, because right after Sorcerer he made another film very, very quickly called The Brink's Job.
Right, did you ever see that?
I saw it on TV years and years ago, one afternoon. And Gina Rowlands and Peter Falk are in it. It's about a bank robbery. Not a bank robbery. The hijacking of one of those armoured trucks.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I don't think I think it was almost a TV movie or something,
okay.
I don't think it made a huge amount of money. Then he did Cruising straight after that.
And again, we had this conversation, and I know you're a Friedkin expert, and me myself, I learn as I go along, and I listen to people like yourself, but I never saw Cruising. It's the only Al Pacino film that that and Revolution, they're two Al Pacino films that I never watched.
You'd be alright, you don't need to see Revolution. Tell you the God's honest truth. Like,
Cruising is good.
I'd see it, yeah. There's seemingly there's a quote out there that's you'd never get it on television, you know.
Okay.
Seemingly it's just, you know, you go cross-legged looking at it, like, you know. Friedkin put in every single thing, every single what would be shocking to the mainstream viewer. He put into it, you know. But it's a dark movie, and it plays on you psychologically. It really does. You can see the sort of vice closing on Al Pacino's character throughout the whole film, and then the end of the movie, it just feels like a huge question mark, and you feel very uneasy after it, you know.
Okay.
And I suppose that in that respect, it has a huge amount in common with The Exorcist, with the ending of The French Connection too.
Oh, yeah, big time,
And the ending, we won't say what it is, but the ending of Sorcerer has that sort of same thing. It's a very, very similar ending.
It's a big, big impact. It's a film that you think about for days after.
Yeah, you do.
It's like everything he makes is like, it leaves an impact on you. You remember the film. You know what you saw and watched it. Friedkin is just a master at his game.
He's a master at his game, and I'll tell you, just going back to The Exorcist, and this is why I think, basically, certainly every mainstream horror hit since The Exorcist, and many other films that trade on suspense or trade on thrills and all the rest, but particularly horror films. We'll talk about it in the context of it being a horror film, right? Just for the moment. Every mainstream horror movie, and a lot of, like basically every horror film since The Exorcist has been playing catch up to The Exorcist. I know it's had a lot of imitators, especially in the last sort of 20 years or whatever. There's a lot of movies that have tried to imitate The Exorcist. But there's a massive, massive, massive fundamental misunderstanding of actually what made that film special. And the thing is, one of the things that made it hugely special and so innovative and so clever and so visceral and made it just have such a massive impact on one's senses is that it never used obvious music cues. The music cues that are used in it are so subtle, they're almost like another tonal aspect of the film. It's almost like another part of the sound design. It's almost like another texture. It's almost like another piece of dialogue. You hear the strings that are used in some of the sequences, and they're not used in the scenes of, boom, let Jesus fuck you, or any of that. Like, they're used in bits where the car is going down the street, and everything is getting worse, and you hear the Penderecki strings, that sort of a tonal sort of sound that these Night of the Electric Insects is one of the things that Penderecki used, and the thing that was originally written for was the victims of Hiroshima.
All right, I didn't know that. No.
So you hear that underneath a bit, and I'm not even talking about the obvious music cue, which is Tubular Bells, with her walking down, with Chris McNeil walking
down the street with the leaves and the nuns.
But isn't that good, the way that,
Yeah, because I was supposed to say to you that the music, the one that you're on about, with the piano, that everybody knows, that I think is connected to The Exorcist because of its trailers, more so than the film itself.
It is connected, and
because it's not really used that much in the film.
It's not. It's only used at that sequence and at the very end.
Yeah, at the very end.
Before that cannon for tape fucking bursts into the scene.
And it's like what I said to you at the start of this conversation, that there were a lot of scenes that happen and no music at all. And it's like what you said, Anya, right? Modern films now thinks that if you're walking down the hall and someone jumps out on you, you're supposed to have this massive drum beat.
But the thing is, Kyle,
what the fuck, like?
That was prior to The Exorcist.
Yeah.
That's an old trick.
That's an old trick.
Way back.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, have we really not come this far? Like, has it really been such a sort of a case of regression that they learned nothing? They learned nothing from the way that was put together.
And it was happening in Hammer horror films back in the 30s.
Of course it was, because, you know, that was the way, that was part of the grammar of how horror films were made. The Exorcist tore up that.
It tore
that up. But the fact that...
It tore a lot of things up.
But the fact that... You see, there's a difference between, say, introducing big stupid music cues to tell you what to think in that moment, whereas it should just be about the visual. It should just be about the visual.
It's just a typical movie studio, Alan, who thinks that they have to do these things for the audience to cop on to what's going on.
Is it.
We are intelligent people. We're intelligent people who go to the cinema to watch our films.
That's why Friedkin was so clever. That's why the man was so intelligent. That's why he was such a visionary. So just so inventive.
Yeah.
You know, it's the fact that he was able to tear that up and go, it's about the tone. It's about the texture. The music is used as a texture. It's not used as a cue. It's not used as a fucking signpost or a thing to hit you over the head. Now, I will say, there's movies where maybe they're not obvious, but they use
the music for the tension.
They use music for the tension.
Typical example, Jaws.
I'm also thinking of Halloween. The first Halloween movie, the John Carpenter music is very, very good. And it works because it's a character in the film.
Which is excellent.
It works as a character in the film.
Excellent. Because I remember a few years back, I had to do a review in a local paper about the greatest horror film ever made. That was what I was asked to do. And another reviewer was asked the same. So I rang up the other reviewer and I said, I'm doing The Exorcist because obviously it is.
Because obviously.
But obviously the fella that was done with me said, oh no, I'm not telling the newspaper that I'm doing The Exorcist. So I had to come up with my second favourite horror film, in my opinion.
Halloween.
And that was Halloween.
Good choice.
And I wrote about that and about the music and how it was such a
should have picked Sam's Lot.
Sam's Lot, another great film. But no, I said Halloween because a lot more people would have saw Halloween than...
Yeah, that's true.
Than Salem's Lot.
Yeah, it's fair.
But, as I said, the music score in The Exorcist, it's not all the time there in these important moments of the film. What a genius.
It's total genius.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just tore it up, threw it out the window.
But he's also a perfectionist. And very obsessive perfectionist. Really obsessive. Let's talk about practical effects.
Yeah, well, I was about to say that to you because you're talking about these films that's out these days, or for the last 20 or 30 years since The Exorcist. Exorcist coming up to nearly 50 years old now.
It is.
Which is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
And so I was the practical effects on The Exorcist. Fella once said to me, what do you think if they did The Exorcist again?
Yeah.
Or a remake of it?
Yeah.
Even though a remake from scene to scene, identical. It'd be a bullshit film. It would never work.
It wouldn't work.
And The Exorcist wouldn't have worked if freaking had the special effects that they have today. No. It wouldn't be the same film.
There's something about it being created in camera.
It's just creepy out.
It just really is.
There's a realistic tone to the film.
The thing. It actually lent that effort and all of that craftsmanship actually lent to the horror of what you were witnessing in that room. The bed. Yeah. Shaking, moving up and down.
Yeah. Her floating.
Her levitating. Piano strings. Or whatever they were. I don't know. I don't think they were actual piano strings, but they were strings that were very, very slim and, painted. Amazing
stuff. For you see, you have to think back on when I said that to you. It's come out to 50 years old. What other film in 1973 was doing stuff like that? There's no other film. What other film has done that since 1973?
No
other film.
There's been a lot of attempts to imitate that.
And never came close to it.
Never came close.
Never even held a fucking candle to it.
No.
It's masterful in all aspects.
It really is.
Especially the makeup effects for the demon.
The makeup effects are just amazing. But it's not just even before we get to the demon, the makeup effects that were used on Max von Sydow.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Von Sydow looks like that now as an old man.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean?
What
So
actual age was he
actually,
when he made that film?
I think he was only in his 40s, early 40s. He was only around our age.
I'd say he was our age.
Yeah, that's all.
He could have been even younger.
Yeah,
It was
that was the age he
unbelievable.
was. Yeah, and he actually looks like that now. So it was a very, very, very accurate makeup design, like
Big time.
to make him look like this old man, this frail old man.
You see, this is the thing, Alan. We're talking again as 50 years ago, and that's what they did to him. Made him out to be this old man.
Yeah,
Next week, with the help of God, we're going to be introduced to, I'm hoping, a classic as in The Irishman.
yeah.
And have these computer generated things now,
Yeah.
and they're making De Niro and Pacino and basically de-age them. But what I'm at been reading is that there's certain scenes that, yeah, it looks okay, but it's a young De Niro, but when he's boxing or beating up some fella, it's an old man's body.
Okay.
But back in 1973, they made a young man look like an old man, and he carried on like an old man.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's
it was
50
good.
years on.
It was really good. I would say about this de-aging thing, I thought it actually was really good on Michael Douglas in
The Ant-Man.
I thought it was really, really
excellent.
good.
Yeah, he looked really young in it,
Yeah.
and it didn't look out of shape or out of...
No,
it looked
it really
good.
made sense. Now, maybe if I was to see it again, I don't know. But
No, I agree.
Have you seen it a couple of times? Have you seen it more than
I saw it
once?
in the cinema, and I saw it on Blu-ray, which I have over there.
Okay.
And I thought it was excellent on both
Yeah.
occasions when I watched it.
Yeah, I watched it on TV now, and I thought I was really impressed.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson was the age as well in
That's
Captain Marvel.
Right. Yeah, he was too. I saw a clip of that.
Looked a bit dodgy in places.
Some stuff looks shit. Carrie Fisher in Rogue One.
Yeah,
That did not look good.
didn't look good.
That didn't look good.
There's another one I saw recently. No, I didn't see it film. I heard it's shit, so I stayed away from Gemini Man.
Oh,
But I believe there's certain sections of that's dirty as
Yeah,
well.
no,
No.
that can stay where it
I
is.
can stay where it is.
Yeah.
But that's how great The Exorcist is. And it's an awful shame and it's an awful pity because when it was re-released in the cinemas back in, I think it was 2001, 2002 and around that,
Something like that, yeah.
I know from personal experience that I spoke to lots of younger generation that was growing up that was their first time to go to see The Exorcist and they couldn't wait because they heard so many great things about it. But then when you ask them then what they thought of it, 80% of them, it's a comedy, it's a laugh. And it's a comedy and it's a laugh to them because they're so used to all these big special effect blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
And the effects looks terrible to them than what to do today.
Do you think it might have been a defensive reaction, though? Do you think maybe it actually did scare them or it did hit them on some level?
I think there's no one have watched The Exorcist that didn't have an impact somewhere along the line.
I think when people talk like that, I think they're protesting too much.
They are. And
That's what I think.
It's like me, you going to the cinema to see The Exorcist, and we
Yeah.
come out, and you say to me, well, what do you think? I'm going to turn to you, and I'm going to say to you, it was good, but I wasn't afraid, I wasn't scared. Because I'm afraid that you're going to say the same thing to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to act like the soft chap
Yeah,
here.
that's what I think.
And
maybe.
that's the mentality of this young
Yeah,
people.
I think maybe that might be...
Because
what's
that's a
at play
film
there.
that has huge impact.
Yeah.
Me personally speaking, I've never witnessed a film that shocked me as much as The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Still to this day, and I've watched it dozens of times.
Yeah.
It still freaks me out. Sitting here on my own watching it, I'm turning on the fucking lights while I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
It still has that impact on me.
It's a thing where we grew up in a Catholic country.
Yeah.
In a very... People who believe in God and believe
Yeah.
in... Bought into the whole thing. Like.
Yeah, big time.
And I think when you're around that sort of... When you're around those sort of rituals,
Yeah.
I think it probably plays a little bit. It
More.
probably works its way onto you a little bit more. Maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I remember my mother and father would fight when I was a chap because I wanted to stay up on a Friday night to watch the old Draculas,
Yeah.
the old
Yeah.
harmless films.
Yeah.
Dad would let me know. I'm only
Yeah.
talking, I was only 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
But I loved it. And I wanted to see who the director was, the
Yeah.
producer. I was all into that.
Yeah.
But my dad and mum would argue because mum did not want me to see him, but my dad said they're harmless off, leave him alone, let him look at him. But the one film that both parents did not want me to look at or even have was The Exorcist.
No, I wasn't
until I
allowed
was a
near
certain
it.
age.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed near it either. And even now, my mother would be
Yeah.
very creeped out by it. She's still creeped out about
Yeah.
it, and she's a woman in her,
Yeah.
late 60s now, and,
Well, I can tell you that my mother went to see it when it came out in 73. She came out of the cinema crying.
yeah.
She was shocked. She never watched it since. She hates the thoughts, even to this day, of me having anything to do with that film.
Yeah.
My dad, as you would know, is open-minded more so about things. He has no time for that film.
No time for it.
And he don't want me to have it in my Blu-ray collection.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. My mother didn't even want the novel in the house. She read the novel.
Yeah.
She didn't even want the novel in the house. I thought, you're probably going a bit far, but look, that's just in the context of.
Yeah.
That's in the context of what kind of effect the movie had on various generations.
Big time.
And I don't believe that these guys are really.
No.
I think they're fronting it a lot of the way. And maybe there are people who are jaded enough that they're not affected by it.
But Alan, if you're not affected by it, let's call it spade a spade. They're not very educated, are they?
No, because it is an intelligent movie. It's a very intelligent film.
Yeah.
And, as I said, it works on so many levels. It sort of employs so many ideas to sort of get the point across. But, just come back to the obvious thing is the makeup on Reagan.
Yeah. We were talking about the practical effects
and
there.
It's the fact that it's plausible makeup.
Yeah.
In the context of somebody being possessed by a demon, it's plausible makeup.
When we speak about the practical effects and stuff like that on the film, I said something before, and I really sincerely mean it. I think it's one of the most, even though it's about a demon possessed. Now you can believe what you want to believe. Mm-hmm. If that was supposed to be a true story based on a young boy, it's up to the viewer. It's up to yourself as a human being what you believe.
Yeah,
you can believe in that, or you don't have to believe in that. That's up to yourself.
Yeah,
we're here to talk about the film. Me personally speaking, about demon and all the rest of it, it was one of the most realistic films that I ever watched for a story that was like that. Everything about that film was so realistic. But there's two things when we're talking about the practical effects. Two things that always kind of played on my mind. One was the turning off the head.
Yeah.
I believed everything else apart from that part.
Let's talk about that first. Blatty never liked that.
Okay.
He never liked that.
I can see his point.
All the medical stuff in the movie, all the physical stuff in the movie, he always said that everything could be explained one way or another.
Yeah.
But the neck turning completely around is nonsense.
Yeah.
And he never liked it.
Yeah.
And I think they introduced the cut in it. Because when the neck is turning around and you hear it.
Yeah.
And it does cut to Karis's face. And then the head turns back. So you do see, I think he put in that cut just so that we didn't see the neck completely turn.
Because that is one thing that I believed everything else.
But I think the idea is...
I would obviously break her neck in bits.
Yeah, of course it would. I think the idea was that it could have been something induced in Karis during the exorcism because it's such a heavy-duty situation.
Yeah.
And it might have been on Karis's mind that the Burt Dennings character, when he's found dead, he's found with his head turned completely around.
That's right.
And I think it could be the demon working a number on Karis, making him see that.
Yeah.
That's why it cuts to his face before the head turns all the way.
Yeah.
And I think I think that was the get out clause there with that.
Yeah.
But Blatty never liked it.
No,
Blatty never
and
liked
I can understand his point because it is something in the film that it's that one thing that I just didn't believe.
What was the other thing you were saying then?
The second thing, Alan, is and I know it's not in the film itself. It's in the whatever it is, director's cut. It's not director's cut. It's the writer put it in.
I know what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Let's talk about the famous spider crawl or the spider walk.
The spider walk scene.
Now, I to me, personally speaking, this is about faith. It's about a demon in a young girl. Not saying that a demon in a young girl wouldn't do something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not an expert at that. I never saw anything like it, but it's not a monster film.
It's not a monster film.
And that spider walk to me
it look like some sort of creature feature.
Something like a creature feature. It's not the Black Lagoon, the creature from the Black Lagoon I'm looking at.
You see, the way that was originally written, the way it was originally presented, if they'd been able to do something with the practical effects, it would have actually worked.
Right.
Now, maybe not in the structure of the scene, but because there's a double climax if you actually put it into it, like, because it's the bit where Burt Dennings is revealed to be dead. One of the chaps that works on the movie with him comes along and tells Chris McNeil that,
right.
like, and so there's a sort of a double ending to the scene, and it wouldn't have worked anyway. But I think because it had such a sort of a cult following in terms of Exorcist fans, when they were doing that cut, that version you've never seen cut, I'd say they just felt obliged to put it in.
Yeah. And
to do something with it, but they couldn't really do anything with it, barring that stupid thing at the end where she spits blood or whatever it is at the camera.
But she was even sticking her tongue out, and it was like a lizard's tongue.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
But she was doing that in the movie too when she was sticking her tongue
actually,
out,
but was it lizard tongue or was it her own tongue?
It was her own tongue.
It's her own tongue.
If you actually look at it, it is her own tongue, or it's all fucked up looking.
Yeah.
But
that never seen before version that you're talking about. So you can call it director's cut. You can call it whatever you want to call it. It's not a director's cut.
The director put it together.
Yeah, but it's not a director's cut.
Yeah. The cut of The Exorcist is the director's cut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my question to you is this: I'm very interested to hear what you think of this part. There's one section of that I wish that they did leave in the film. That was the section where the two priests were sitting on the stairs.
Absolutely.
That conversation should have been in the film.
Yeah.
Instead of, because if my mind serves me right, the two of them are sitting on the stairs
sitting there saying nothing.
And there's silence.
Yeah.
That conversation should have took fucking place in the fucking original film. It makes me mad that though, because I think that is a fucking powerful scene.
It's a beautiful scene.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful scene, and it's really, really, really nice acting between the
Brilliant
two
acting
as well. Like,
and the words were beautiful.
But Friedkin felt that the scene was illustrated by the whole movie, and he felt that the point was made by what you saw.
You didn't have to listen to
you didn't have to. I liked it.
I think it's deadly.
I liked it.
I think it would have. Yeah, I should have been in the film.
It should have been in the film. Can we talk about the performances?
I was going to say that to you. We talk about the actors next and their performances.
Jason Miller.
Al Pacino was supposed to get the part, I believe. He was being interviewed at one stage first.
That wouldn't have worked.
And there was someone else that was going to say to you. Audrey Hepburn was to play.
She was asked.
She was
wanting to do it in Rome or something.
She was wanting to do it in Rome, yeah.
And Jane Fonda was asked.
Jane Fonda was asked too. Yeah. Jane Fonda, but I think was she pregnant or?
No, she was going through her. She was ideologically possessed at the time. She was going through her.
Barbella and shit like that.
No, she was. The press used to refer to her as Hanoi Jane and everything. Sure, she was speaking up for the Viet Cong. And, she was saying, why would I want to star in a capitalist piece of shit like this? It didn't stop her from starring in plenty of other capitalist pieces of shit. Like, but look at whatever. It was better with Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah, she's believable.
She was brilliant.
She was
brilliant.
The mother, and you could see the torment and the torture in her face.
Yeah.
You couldn't have asked for anyone better.
No. Her performance is just superb, and her chemistry with with Linda Blair.
Yeah.
And her chemistry with Jason Miller was really, really good.
Really good.
Now, she had misgivings about Jason Miller being cast.
Yeah. He wasn't an actor, though, was he?
He was a playwright.
Playwright,
yeah. I think he'd done a little bit of acting, but he wasn't really... That wasn't his career.
He wasn't really well known in the acting world.
No. But she had misgivings about Jason Miller.
Right.
Because she felt he should have been really tall and that she should have been able to fall into his arms in despair or whatever.
Right.
Like. But he was a stocky little fucker, like.
Right.
And he was built like a fucking boxer, like.
Yeah.
And you know, when he's hitting that bag in that film, he really is believable as a boxer, like.
Well, looking back at it, Alan, I could not see anyone else acting as fucking...
Look at that face.
Unbelievable.
Look at that face, that chipped face, the torment.
The torment.
The
depression.
He looks washed out.
He's washed
throughout
out.
the whole fucking movie. Like.
It's an amazing performance.
There's a bit in Blatty's script.
I go as far as saying that he should have been up for an Oscar.
He should have been. There's a bit in Blatty's script where Blatty says it's the bit where they're filming on the campus of Georgetown University. And I think Karras teaches there, doesn't he, or something? Yeah. But he's going along with his little case. Yeah. And he's after been watching the film and he's looking at him and he's enjoying it and all the rest. Like, and then he's walking away and there's an extraordinary crane shot.
That's right.
That sees him, picks him up as he's walking along, and it describes him as looking like a little black cloud walking away. Yeah. And I thought that is a very, very apt description of this man. Like,
yeah, big time.
This man who's tormented because he hasn't done enough for his mother. His mother's living in a slum. She's clearly, the lady is starting to slip into senility or something. Right? Or she's had some sort of issue. Yeah. And, you know, but like he can do no wrong in his mother's eyes. You know?
His mother's eyes, but none of us can in our mother's eyes. We've done plenty wrong.
But there's a bit. It's very, very beautifully written in the book. And it is really beautifully written. It's heartbreaking, really. And I think it mirrored Blatty's relationship with his own mother because he was very attached to her. And Friedkin was very attached to his mother too. And I think those scenes with Karras and his mother, and when his mother ends up in the hospital, they're very, very heartfelt. Clearly very heartfelt for the writer and the director. But there's a beautiful thing in the book where Karras is thinking back to his childhood. Yeah. And both priests do throughout the book. Both priests think back to their childhood. There's a beautiful thing, and it seems embodied in the character in the movie, where he talks. He's thinking about his mother when he was a child, and that they were dirt poor. Now I'm thinking these people lived in absolute abject poverty, and I think he ended up joining the Jesuits because they were going to put him through college. I think that was the idea. That was the notion and that you were given to have faith regardless of whether, you know, but in the book he talks about how when he was a child, he's walking home through the neighbourhood with a childhood sweetheart or something, and he turns the corner and sees his mother rummaging in a bin for food, you know. And there's another bit in the book where he's thinking back as well, and he had a really nice dog he loved called Ginger. Right. And one day he turned the corner, or he got home, or his mother met him at school, and she just said she took his hand and put a quarter or whatever into his hand and just said Ginger died. Right. You know. Right. So there's that sort of routine heartbreak and it seems to have worked its way into the character in the movie. Yeah. You know, even if you didn't remember, those are details in the book that you wouldn't necessarily remember. You wouldn't necessarily remember when you're going to see the movie. Yeah. But then when you put them together, but it seems to be just in the character. There just seems to be he's sort of hewn with sadness, like, and
he's a man that's really, really struggling with
everything.
Absolutely everything. Like, if you think you're depressed, just have a look at this man.
Walk a mile in Karras' little shoes.
Oh, be the Lord, lads. And what a performance.
What a performance. Let's talk about his dream.
The dream sequence is amazing.
Wasn't it like a dream? Wasn't it actually like a dream?
Absolutely.
Have you had dreams like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's a prediction. It's a precognitive dream as well, because at the end of the like whatever about the demon's face flashing up, you see his mother, and his mother's trying to reach him.
That's right.
And he's trying to talk to her.
That's right.
But they're blocked, and she ends up going back down into the subway, and it's clearly a metaphor for her death, and but you see the medal.
Yeah.
That was clearly protecting him to some degree. Hitting the ground in the dream.
That's right.
And the dream is broken.
That's right.
By one of Reagan's medical examinations, and you hear her screaming.
That's right.
So it really is like a sort of it's letting you know that something's going to happen. And it's connected. And it's this thing as well that Blatty had about Teilhard de Chardin, Teilhard de Chardin, the Jesuit philosopher, who said, we're all connected. All our consciousnesses are connected, and we're all going to come back together as one when we die. Whenever at the end of time, we're all going to come back together as one. And whether you believe that or not, that's beside the point. It's there in the movie. It's there in the movie. You see that happening with the mother, just in the dream. He's trying to reach her. The medal is hitting the ground. You don't know where this medal has come from, what it means. Yeah. It's hitting the ground. It's interrupted by the girl screaming. Yeah. And it's all a precognitive thing for what's going to happen. Going back, other things.
Very interesting as.
Other precognitive things that happened in that movie that show that the destiny is written, your fate is written.
Yeah.
Merrin in Africa. And we'll talk about
we have to talk
about Iraq.
Yeah,
right? We'll talk about Von Sydow as well.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
But Merrin in Afghanistan, right? Okay, he sees Pazuzu up there, the statue of Pazuzu, all the rest. He finds the idolatry headpiece in the archaeological dig. But he's gone before that, when he's working on the dig, he's walking through the streets. He's really shook looking.
That's right.
He's walking through the streets of Afghanistan. He's heading back to this place, this man that he's that must be running the dig or something, or he's part of the administration of running this dig. But he's going through the streets, and he nearly gets hit by what are those droshkas or something, I think is what they're called.
Yeah.
But he nearly meets death. The woman sitting in the back has a very wizened face.
That's right.
It's almost like you're going to see a face like that again.
That, yeah.
This is, this demon is Merrin's enemy.
Yeah.
They're going to meet again.
Yeah.
Merrin has the creeping feeling that it's going to happen. He's getting himself ready.
And he's shook to the core.
He's walking through. He's walking past the forge. You can hear the clanging.
That's right.
Later on in the exorcism, you hear that clanging.
That's right.
But the man that's doing the clanging wipes his face. One eye is white.
That's right.
Okay. Gets back to that building, that administrative building, and his friend is Randy says, "Father, I wish he didn't have to go." The clock stops.
And
that's it. It's done. The clock has stopped.
When you look at that, see that part, and that's a very important part, seeing that is, because when that clock stops, if my mind serves me right, Merrin looks at the clock. We know he's looking at the clock, but it's done in such a way, it's like he's staring down the lens at us.
Yeah.
And it's like saying, no.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Can I talk about the book again?
Yeah.
And Merrin's character in the book.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful sequence as well in the book, a beautiful, beautiful paragraph in the book. And it's only shown in silence in the movie. It's when he's back in America. Apparently he's up in upstate New York. He's in Woodstock or somewhere like that. But he's taking his walk. And you just see a young priest going out, giving him the message. And he doesn't even read it, does he?
No.
He doesn't even read it. He just carries on walking.
He doesn't read it.
Because he knows what's in it. He knows what it's for. Like in the book, he talks about or he's thinking about how much he loves nature, and particularly that time of the year. And then it says, you know, the young priest came out and gave him that. He said he didn't even need to read it. He didn't need to know what was in it. He already knew what was in it. And he said he carried on with his walk, and he continued to say his goodbye to the trees and the leaves and the birds.
Right.
Because he knew he wasn't coming back.
He wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
Performance-wise,
an amazing performance.
Absolutely
An amazing performance.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I know we said we talked about Africa and all the rest of it.
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Or is it Iraq? It's Iraq, isn't
Iraq.
it? It's Iraq. Yeah,
Iraq.
I've been saying Afghanistan.
Iraq.
It's Iraq.
Well, what we do is we come back to that, because we talk about the locations.
Yeah.
But we're on about the characters and about the performances. But we haven't mentioned Linda Blair yet.
We haven't mentioned Linda Blair. And it'd be wrong to
not to mention her.
Not to celebrate that performance, like.
Brilliant performance
It's
from
just
such a young child.
Basically the best child performance I think there's ever been. By some distance.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And what she went through and what she said, and you know, it's the fact that she never did anything good again after that.
No. I think she actually got into bad health.
She didn't do herself any favours subsequently, but just that performance was amazing. It was really amazing.
For such a young girl. Like, I have a daughter who's 9. I don't know what age Linda Blair was when she made The Exorcist.
She was that bit older. I think she was about 12 or something like that.
But even to imagine my daughter, even at 12, having to say those words, certain curses.
This is it. Like, you wouldn't say it, would you?
You wouldn't say it. So she went through an awful lot, and then with Freaking as well on top of her.
Well, I think he was
nice to her
than he was to the others.
Well, he had to be nice to her.
He had to be, yeah.
You know, to get that kind of performance from her.
Yeah.
I'm sure she felt secure, and her parents felt safe about it. So.
Yeah.
But a great performance from such a young girl.
Yeah.
Pity that she never made anything after that.
It's a shame, because she could have been great, you know.
I did hear one time someone was talking about her to say that she was one of the hardest working actresses in Hollywood today. And I kind of paused when I heard that, and I said, fair enough, but what is she working at? Because I haven't seen her in anything.
I haven't seen her in anything either. No, I don't know. Yeah, she could have had a career like Kirsten Dunst or somebody if things had gone the way they should have. You know?
But it was a great performance. Then you have the priest. He was a normal priest. He was an original priest. Two priests.
It was Bill O'Malley.
Yeah.
Did he play Father Dyer? Yeah.
Bill O'Malley was the man that was shaking at the end of the hand.
He's Father Dyer. He's Harris's best friend.
Right, yeah.
And then there's Father Thomas Birmingham.
That's right.
Played, I can't remember the priest's name. Tom something or other.
They were very good.
They were very, very good. They really took it seriously, and they were priests, and it worked, you know.
Now, we're not going to talk about the sequels.
No.
We both like certain aspects of the Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
But as far as things are Exorcist 2 now, we might as well as
No.
crap.
That was awful fan fiction.
But my question to you is, the two characters at the end of the film, the detective and the priest.
Yeah.
The two of those characters was a continuation into Exorcist 3.
They formed the
but
backbone.
But they were played by two different
actors. Yeah, but Lee J. Cobb had died
at
that point. And I think Blatty probably felt that he couldn't expect a non-acting priest to manage a whole film. And Blatty wasn't going to be able to get performances out of non-actors the way that Friedkin could.
Yeah. Did Blatty direct that?
Blatty did 3.
He did 3.
Yeah.
Friedkin had nothing to do with it.
There was initial talk. They were actually given a lot of money just to have a lunch with one of the executives of Warner Brothers at the start of the 80s. And Blatty and Friedkin had talked about, they didn't get on very well at that point anymore, but they talked about this sequel, and Blatty had outlined this idea he had, which subsequently became Legion, which then subsequently became The Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
But seemingly they went into this meeting, they agreed on what they were going to say, they were getting paid a lot of money to have this meeting, and they went into it. And next thing, Friedkin just went off on a tangent. He started talking about opening the movie with shots of mutilated cattle and stuff like that. And very, very odd stuff that they didn't discuss previously. And Blatty had to back out of it, like.
Yeah.
And Blatty then in the end got turned it into a novel, Legion, which is a fucking beautiful novel. It's such a great book.
Is it?
It's such a great book. It's an amazing book. If he'd actually made that book,
it'd be a brilliant film.
Rather than adapted it almost out of recognition, it would have been so brilliant.
Jesus.
It would have been so brilliant.
Was it as good as The Exorcist then? The book?
The book was... I can't say if it was as good as The Exorcist. It was an amazing sort of companion piece and follow-up.
Yeah.
And I mean now, this book was really good. Yeah. Really, really good. Really funny. The whole relationship between Dyer and Kinderman is beautifully wrought in the book.
Right.
There's new characters like the people who work in the precinct with Kinderman. It's about Kinderman's struggle with the concept of fate.
Right.
And good and evil.
Yeah.
And his own theories.
Yeah.
About good and evil. And it's about duality, I suppose. Two sides of one person.
Yeah.
And a little bit of that ended up in the movie subsequently, but it's also about what is mental illness and what is spiritual illness.
Yeah.
And which is a bit of what The Exorcist is as well.
Yeah, big time, yeah.
But it's complex.
Yeah.
There's complex ideas in it. Yeah. It was like you could see him developing ideas that initially had sort of a germ in The Exorcist. He developed them into some really larger sort of issues. And it was just a gorgeous book with a really, really lovely ending.
Not for pity then that they didn't make it like that.
He didn't make it like that. And even if he'd been able to do the cut, and I know that the studio messed with The Exorcist 3 quite a bit, like
right.
If he'd even if his cut had got out there,
yeah,
it still wouldn't have been a patch on what he wrote in that novel.
Yeah.
He seems to have a problem adapting these novels. It seems to be an issue with him.
You wonder about
across
that.
The way, like.
You wonder about that.
I don't understand it, but look at. The Exorcist 3 is what it is.
But it is what it is, and you said to me there's a second ago, you said there about the studio that it kind of interfered. So I'm going to go back to The Exorcist, the original Exorcist.
Yeah.
Thank God that Warner Brothers, I think it was Warner Brothers,
yeah.
Thank God that Warner Brothers did not interfere with The Exorcist, because they could have
easily.
They could have fucking destroyed it.
Yeah.
Because that crucifixion scene.
There was things in it that they didn't want in it, but Blatty or Friedkin was
adamant.
A force of nature.
But that crucifix scene, for example, is one of the most horrific scenes I ever saw on any film.
You couldn't envision something like that being shot and shown.
No.
Like, even now you couldn't. Like, you couldn't imagine anybody getting away with it.
No.
Like,
even now, like you said.
Apart from maybe if it was made in some shitty video nasties film in the 80s that would have been banned anywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
But for a mainstream Hollywood film like that.
It's very, very, very memorable.
Very memorable.
And nasty. And it is the deciding factor in her just going,
yeah, I
have to do something.
Yeah.
Look at, if the psychiatrists are not going to do anything for her, well, I have to take their advice now and just go to the priest, because if it's the suggestion, if it's the power of suggestion in the exorcism, which is what those guys were actually sort of pushing, then she has to take that option.
I love the fact that from the beginning of the film all the way up to the actual exorcism, it was just tension. It was just building. To me, I couldn't catch me. There was no time to breathe. You know, I was like,
because it's accelerating
all the time. But when it gets to that bedroom scene, I'm wrecked after it.
See, I'm tired. I don't even know which is the worst bit of it. Like, is it the crucifix, or is it the fact that she gets her fucking head and pushes it into her crotch and there's blood everywhere, and you know, then gives her a smack, and then the neck turns around, and then she says that line, and you know,
it's unbelievable, and it's just. You're worn out at the end of the film. You're just literally when the credits come on. You're like,
oh sure, you get bags under your eyes the way that the characters do.
I just want to sleep.
Yeah,
and then you can't sleep because you have all this going on inside your head. Yeah. It's a wonderful piece of fucking film.
It really is. It's just
of the highest level.
It's just genius, really. It's just genius.
And just everything about it. Like,
sound design, the editing.
The editing is superb.
Yeah. The camera work.
Is unbelievable.
Gorgeous.
It's absolutely deadly. And the cinematography is the light. The light. Yeah. There's one light used in that fucking bedroom.
Yeah.
And I believe that the room. Am I right in saying that the bedroom? It was frozen. It was free. It was minus.
They had to refrigerate it.
Yeah, it was something like minus.
That was on the set. They
15
filmed
or
in
something.
New York, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they filmed the interiors in New York, and yeah, they had to freeze it down. You see the behind the scenes shots, and the lads are all there in their puffy jackets.
It was real bright. There was the real bright.
But sure,
I think John Carpenter did the same in the thing.
I think he did. That's right. Yeah.
I think he did the same kind of thing in the thing.
It would have been hard to sort of get that effect across.
Yeah.
Without doing that, like
the thing was great film too, and it's on right.
Yeah.
But it just wear you out. No matter how many times you look at it, it's just relentless.
Yeah, no, it's just this.
And some people can come up with the idea that the devil won at the end, that the demon won at the end.
That's not true. I think if you let the horror affect you, I suppose, it feels that way. But what it is it's a story about selfless, unconditional love on the part of somebody just giving their life for somebody else to save them. Really, that's what it's about. Like, it's a thing where I think it's in the script. It's definitely in the book, and it might have been in a deleted scene where Chris McNeil at the end of it is talking to Dyer or Kinderman. She's talking to Dyer, and she says, "Do you know, he never even met her. Like, you know, he never even met her.
He didn't meet her.
He only met the demon.
He met the demon,
and still he gave his life for her.
He didn't. Yeah, he gave her his life for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you see, that's the thing. You don't think of that.
Yeah.
It's just you said that to me there now. That's kind of the first time that has actually hit me.
Yeah.
After all these years.
Yeah.
That he actually didn't meet her.
Yeah.
And that's a simple thing, like.
He saw pictures of the child. He heard tape recordings of the child's original
voice. But he
voice,
never had a conversation with her.
But he never met the child. But he did it. And his faith was renewed.
Yeah.
You know, he had purpose again.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it's like
he knew
redemption.
what it meant. He knew what it meant to actually, you know, have unconditional love.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing. And that's an amazing concept.
Yeah.
You know. And I would say that it transcends any sort of religious belief or any faith or anything like that. Yeah. It doesn't belong to any faith or any creed or religion.
No.
And I think that's sort of part of the point, you know, as well.
Yeah.
That it's the will to love, I suppose. Yeah. It's that idea, it's the will to love. And, you know, that's an amazing thing to sort of see in a movie. And, you know, amidst all the horror, amidst all the hellish sort of goings on or whatever.
There was no other answer. That was the way he had to do it.
He had to do it. It was just the final.
And he did it.
Yeah, he did it.
And even then, the famous steps.
Yeah.
Visited from millions of fans worldwide.
Yeah.
They leaves their signatures on it from all over the world.
Yeah.
Place I would love to go out to see someday.
Yeah,
in Georgetown. Be
creepy.
Yeah,
they used to call it the Hitchcock steps.
The Hitchcock steps.
Now it's the Exorcist.
The Exorcist steps, yeah. No, but I'd say just overall, Alan, it was this. We just a couple more things there before we wrap it up. But that whole Iraq. The whole scene, the whole first act of that film is amazing.
You hear the call to prayer at the start. You hear the call to prayer. You hear the chanting.
Yeah.
And you're already thrown into.
You're already thrown
into the mystery.
Yeah.
And the unknowable sort of dimensions of faith.
Yeah.
But also the unknowable, mysterious dimensions of alien intelligences.
Yeah.
You know, that's one way a demon can be summed up, or that's one way an entity for good can be summed up. An alien intelligence, something that's outside of us and beyond us, you know,
that we never understand,
that we don't understand.
It's just amazing. And just the scene that he's there, you mentioned it already, up on that little cliff part, or the hill, and he's looking at the statue, and the sun blaring, and the kind of smoke kind of coming into play,
and you hear the
two dogs
tearing lumps of
one another.
Yeah. And you hear that sort of, well, I think it is the bees
it's
being
the bees.
recorded
That's right.
And
that's
you know,
right.
They're pitched up in a tone.
That's right. And then you just see Tom look, and it's like
the two adversaries,
good versus evil.
Yeah, the two adversaries meeting again. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the sun is blaring, the full sun, and then it just disappears into Georgetown.
You're in Georgetown in the nighttime.
Yeah. So it goes from the sun, the light, into darkness. And then Georgetown right underneath us.
You're in Chris McNeil's room.
Yeah.
And she switches on the lamp.
Yeah.
And it's another dot of light.
Yeah.
You know.
Amazing.
But I tell you another thing. No, I know the idea in the movie is that it's not necessarily the devil. It's a demon.
It's a demon, yeah.
It's not mentioned that it's Pazuzu. Pazuzu is what we see in terms of that statue and that little head thing. But it's an interesting thing, just in terms of cinematography and iconography as well, that the famous shot that was for the poster and everything, the thing that everybody remembers, barring Linda Blair's makeup, is Merrin getting out of the taxi.
Yeah, street light shining down.
The light is coming out from the bedroom.
From the bedroom window, that's right. And
it should be remembered that the devil, Satan, or Lucifer, was the Lord of Light, the morning star.
Right.
So you have this massive beam of light coming out and illuminating the street and casting Merrin into sharp black relief against it.
That's right.
And that's an interesting concept. I don't know, maybe that was an intentional thing on Friedkin's part. I'm not sure. I know he was influenced by those Magritte paintings.
Yeah.
Like with the
mixed up fucking paintings.
Yeah.
Absolutely mixed up paintings. Weird as fuck.
Very strange stuff.
I wouldn't like...
Because it was all about strangeness.
I wouldn't like watching them paintings all day.
No. It'd be unsettling, alright. And like the thing with the voice.
Yeah.
Looking like, or sounding like a Hieronymus Bosch painting.
Yeah.
And it's that so, like, how they actually managed to get it so accurately.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It really does sound like they look.
Yeah. And that was a woman that smoked and
Mercedes Cambridge. Yeah.
Frightening life out of you, so.
That was an incredibly good voice.
Frightening life
characterization.
And you believe it.
Yeah, you very much buy into it. The
two things that really get to me, and I tell you, it's a powerful thing. It's that light in the bedroom through the exorcism, right? It's that one light.
Yeah.
That just frighten you. But it's when the two priests at the same time with the two crucifixes and they're saying, by the power of
Christ
compels you. By the power of Christ compels you. And it keeps saying it, repeat. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There's no words can explain how I feel when and even though that's a prayer and you're supposed to feel good, it frightens the shit out of me every time I hear it.
Yeah, because they have to keep saying it over and over.
It frightens the life out of me. Serious impact on it. Fuck me, and she looking. Oh, Jesus Christ.
It goes to show though that one of the things that made Friedkin so visionary is that he was able to get so many people to collaborate and bring ideas into it and it all came together. And he pushed people to do their best work.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you're just talking about Mercedes Cambridge doing the
voice
of the demon, there's a bit like where you hear in the Exorcism where you hear the demon going, oh, you know, that sort of sound.
Yeah.
And she said that, I said, that sounds awful familiar to me. It sort of reminds me of something. And I remember hearing her saying that, or reading her saying that she based it on widows crying at a wake in Ireland.
Bit of fake.
In the 50s.
Bit of fake.
She based that partially on that. And she had a lot of good ideas in how she presented.
Yeah.
How she presented that voice, you know.
Jesus, is weird that she smoked a lot and she used to drink a lot. And
yeah, but she was a pioneer, I think, when she went into making the film, and she actually insisted on having her own priest around for when she was recording some of the lines, because she said, look, if I'm going to be giving whiskey and stuff like that again, I need somebody that I'm close to, that I can talk to.
Jeez, that's...
but
freaking, as you said, I think that everybody was on top of their game throughout the making of that film.
Yeah, I think if you either were good or you were gone. Yeah. I think that was the thing with Friedkin.
Yeah.
Like, look what happened to Lalo Schifrin.
Yeah.
You know, when he wrote that music.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to it. I did have it. Or I had some sort of MP3 of it or something. It was leaked somewhere a few years ago. And I did. And it's not that different from the music cues that Friedkin used when it came to the Penderecki stuff, and you know.
Well, is it true that he actually threw it out the window?
Threw it out.
I just said, why you don't like it?
Yeah, he said that's where that fucking marimba music belongs.
Good man, Friedkin. But that's the way he was.
That's the way he was. But, and you know something, it was actually really good music, but he knew what he didn't want.
Yeah, he knew what he wanted. Yeah, that was it.
That's it.
But the thing is, Alan, that he, to top it all off, my whole thing is, and I cap it up by saying, everyone was on top of their game.
Yeah.
Friedkin was on top of his game. He knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
I thank Warner Brothers for not getting involved, where I'm sure there's plenty of arguments, because there's a lot of things there that could have been cut out.
Yeah.
In 1973, I could only imagine going to the cinema to see that.
Nuts.
Because it would have been absolutely crazy.
Do you look at it? That was the best decade for cinema.
Oh, the best decade for cinema.
And largely it was the best decade for cinema because studios knew to give directors power.
Yeah.
The ironic thing is that 72, The Godfather.
Yeah.
Coppola.
Yeah.
It gave him a huge amount of power, gave him a huge amount of carte blanche. Because The Godfather made massive amounts of money. 1973, The Exorcist. Friedkin managed to retain a huge amount of power as a director. Massive amount of money. 1975, Jaws. Spielberg. In the face of everything, in the face of all adversity, massive amounts of money.
Blockbuster.
So you see what's happening, right?
Then
we go to Lucas then with Star Wars, right? Another director that managed to beat the studio at their game and gain a massive degree of power.
Yeah.
Okay. The ironic thing is, these are all directors who had a huge amount of autonomy as creative entities. They made all these blockbusters, which made producers powerful, which ushered in another less creative era, where it was all high concept and big bullshit films that made massive amounts of money, but were not as good as that stuff because the intellectual sort of concepts weren't there.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a massive degree of irony in
they were the originals.
That these guys, you know, were sort of independent powerhouses, and really, but ended up, you know, inadvertently ushering in this sort of whole fucking mediocre thing. Like,
mediocre,
which we're living with the legacy of all of that now. Like
we are, because at the end of the day, we still love going to cinema. We still love collecting Blu-rays and films. Still very important in my life, your life, and but we don't get to see films like them. No. And I don't think in our lifetime we will get to see. In our life, I think at the end of our lifetime, we will still be sitting talking about The Exorcist.
Ah, yes, I could say so.
And films like that.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Who do you think is the closest to William Friedkin as a director now working today?
You see, there's a pause.
Yeah, there's a pause because you have to think, don't you?
You have to think. Like, there is a couple of directors working today that are good directors, don't get me wrong. But they're not Friedkin. And they never make a film like what Friedkin can make.
That's the thing.
And this is the problem I have. Alan, you're asking me the question, it's 2019. The most anticipated film for me for the last 2 years is Martin Scorsese's Irishman. Talk about Martin Scorsese, another man back in the 70s.
Yeah, well, this is it, like,
and if a Spielberg film is coming out, you'd be looking forward to a Spielberg film. Yeah, but then Spielberg has made a lot of fucking mediocre stuff too. Like.
Yeah, he has. He's past his
best.
He's done his best work.
Yeah, his best work is done.
Yeah.
Who are we looking at this?
I love Nicholas Winding Refn.
Drive is a great film.
I love him as a
great
director.
film. I still have to watch Only God Forgives.
Yeah. He's done other stuff,
Yeah.
Bronson. Have you seen Bronson?
No, but I believe it's very good. So
terrific.
Tom Hardy's that.
Yeah, he's great.
I must look at that.
Valhalla Rising.
Yeah, I saw that.
Great movie.
Yeah, I saw that. I rented that out next year. Actually one.
Yeah.
That's going back a few years ago. No, that's.
Yeah.
That's a good film. That is.
I think Refn bears mention.
Yeah.
In this conversation, in terms of contemporary directors.
But your Drive was a masterpiece.
Drive is a classic.
Oh, absolute
it's just
masterpiece.
a great film.
Like, who else is there?
Who else is there?
And I'm fucking sick looking at all these superhero films.
Yeah. I like Paul Thomas Anderson, even though I don't think he's the greatest director, and I think he's done projects that have not worked really, but he's done some amazing work too. Yeah, he's a fella that is up and down with me as well. Yeah. It's either good or it's not. And this is it. Like, I mean, There Will Be Blood. Yeah. Just a fucking terrific movie. Phantom Thread is a great movie too. Haven't watched it. I'm still waiting to watch that. But then Daniel Day-Lewis is worth watching no matter what he's in. Inherent Vice is a piece of shit. Yeah. He made a film, Thomas. He made a film that everyone raves about. Bogey Nights. No, I saw that. I enjoyed Bogey Nights to a certain extent. Saw it, right. There's another one. Heard it? No. There's another one. Yes. There is another one. The Master. Is that it? No, The Master's a great film. Something about a rabbit or some stupid name. It'll come to me in a while, but no. He's a hit and miss for me. He's a hit and miss director. Do you know? I like Michael Winterbottom. I think he's a great director. Remind me of who he's. He did 24-Hour Party People, Wonderland. I watched one. That's Michael Douglas. No, that's a different movie. This is a British film. All right. Yeah, he's done a few bits and pieces now. That's he's a good director. Yeah, look at. You could sort of scratch your head all day long. Scratch your head all day long because they're just not them directors. Yeah. And it's sad. Yeah. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is just a classical director. He's a classical director. Yeah. I like Lars von Trier as a director. Yeah. I really like him. I really like him as a director. I think he's fucking ballsy and, He is ballsy. He's seriously ballsy. He is ballsy. What about Terrence Malick? I know he don't do that much. Malick is sort of hit and miss. He's a hit and miss as well. Maybe might have been better if he sort of slowed it down a bit. Again. Was this one film every 5 or 6 years or something like that? Sure, there was a gap of 20 years or something. Yeah, something like that. Fucking maniac torture. I tell you what, I love Michael Mann. Even though he hasn't made a film in years either. I used to. And then I really went off him after Miami Vice.
He should have never touched Miami Vice.
No.
Miami Vice was perfect the way it was.
He shouldn't have been. Just all I can see, the only thing that flashes up in my mind is Colin Farrell looking like a fucking prick with his mustache and his slick back hair.
Tried to be Don Johnson.
Oh, it was awful. And you could barely hear a thing in the. And I didn't even bother my arse with Public Enemies because I just thought that's something that could be covered with a documentary.
Public Enemies is definitely something that could be covered with a documentary. It didn't warrant a 2.5 hour film anyway, I put it that way to you.
No.
With Johnny Depp and Christian Bale.
I like Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan's very good. I'm very interested to see what he's going to do next.
Yeah, I do like him as
Christopher Nolan is great. I thought Inception was brilliant.
Yeah.
I love
the
Dark
Knight
Batman
trilogy.
The Batman trilogy
Dark
was
Knight trilogy
amazing.
is just...
Batman Part 1 is amazing. Batman 2 is amazing.
Yeah, the third
and
one
Batman 3 I think is very good.
It's very good. It's not as good as the other two.
No, but it's very good.
There's big plot holes, but
it's very good.
I still liked it, because at the end of it there was an emotional core to the thing, and I think that's sort of missing. There's things in superhero movies where they think they're getting that, and it's not really there at all. They're just they're reaching for something that's not there.
I wasn't emotional one bit with Endgame.
No, neither was I. I just thought it was fairly unearned, and I liked the characters fine. It was just overblown, unnecessary. But look at.
But listen, we
covered The Exorcist.
We covered The Exorcist, and I'm glad of it.
The greatest movie ever made?
I would think that is the greatest movie.
I would also say that.
I would definitely go along with the greatest movie ever made.
I would too.
When you sit back and think about it, without a shadow of a doubt.
Definitely.
I think Freakin' definitely gets the award for making the greatest film of all time.
So that's it, Freakin'. If you're listening to this, we'll get something made up for you.
Yeah, we get a plaque or something.
Yeah, we'll get a plaque made up and just come down to Enniscorthy anytime.
And we'll have a few beers with you, and we'll give you the plaque.
We will. We'll bring you to the deli.
And he'll be glad.
He'll be glad.
But Alan, pleasure doing this.
Absolutely.
And
first of many.
Hopefully we can get something out once a month, maybe, or once every 2 months or something like that.
Let's see.
We'll see what way we go.
Okay.
Gentlemen, thanks Alan for your help.